Hi there, Neil Clark and Kathryn Granger here from Falkirk Piping and Glenbervie Folk Duo. Welcome to our feature-length Burns presentation for 2022. It's out on the 22nd of January. Now, the Burns night is the 25th of January, but this is the Saturday closest to Burns night, so it will be when most of the Burns suppers throughout the world, if they're happening, are actually happening. So before we go any further, I would like to invite you, if you wish, to donate to our nominated charity for this video, which is Maggie's Forth Valley. You will find the Just Giving link in the comments box below this video.
Yeah, and we also would like to thank Sharon at Carmure's Produce, our local farm shop, for putting us in touch with her friend Anne, who happens to live at Mount Oliphant, the farm where Burns spent much of his young years. So yeah, big thank you to Sharon and to Anne.
What we're going to do, we're not going to talk you through every video, we'll just basically run through what's going to happen. All the pictures and videos are ours as usual. We don't put anyone else's footage out on our channel at all, with the possible exception of one or two pictures from Kayleigh, and a thank you to Kayleigh as well for dancing for us. We're going to visit Mount Oliphant Farm, as Kathryn said, first of all, and just sort of set the scene for the whole evening. After that, we'll just carry on as a Burns supper usually would. We'll start it with the address to the Haggis, and then we've got loads of poems and tunes. And the poems and tunes are all set on the location of Burns's tour in 1787. That's throughout Falkirk, Stirling and Clackmannan. So I think that'll do it. At the end of the video, we'll go back to Mount Oliphant to close the video off. So thanks very much for joining us, and thanks again for your support, and enjoy the video. Was born in Kyle, but what's na day or what na style? I doubt it's hardly worth their while to be sae kind with Robin. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, ranting roving. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, Robin. On a hindmost year but in was 25 days begun. Was then a blast of January when blew Hansel on Robin. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, ranting roving. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, Robin. Because of peakets in her lift, where she will lives will see the proof. This wally boy will be naked, I think we'll call him Robin. He'll have his fortunes great and small, but I heard it's a binding law. He'll be a credit to us all, we'll all be proud of Robin. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, ranting roving. Robin was a roving boy, ranting roving, Robin. was a roving boy, ranting, roving. Robin was a roving boy, ranting, roving Robin.
There's not a care on every hand, in every eye that passes on, what signifies a life of man, and 'twere for the lasses on. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on. The worldliness may riches chase, and riches still may fly them all, and though at last they catch them fast, their hearts can ne'er enjoy them all. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on. But give me a canny heart a ting, my arms about my dearie o, and worldly cares and worldly men may all get absolutely o. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on. For you say dus, you sleep at this, you're not the census asses o, the wisest man the world e'er saw, he dearly loved the lasses o. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on. Old nature swears and lovely dears, her noblest work she glasses on, her prentice hand she tried on man, and then she made the lasses on. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on. We grow the rashes on, we grow the rashes on, the sweetest hours the time I spend are spent among the lasses on.
Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin race. Abin them all you tak your place, pain stripe or fair'em, well are you worthy o a grace, as langs my air'em. The groaning trencher there ye fill your hurdies like a distant hill, your pain would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife, see rustic, labour dicht, and cut ye up with ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails brick. like ony ditch, and then oh, what a glorious sicht, warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal tit the hindmost on they drive, till all their wheels swelled, kits belive are bent like drums, and all good man, mace like to arrive, bethank it hums. Is there that Irish French ragout, or olio would stew a sou, or fricassee would make a spew, wi' perfect scunner, looks down wi' sneering, scorn for view on sick a dinner. Poor devil, see him Irish trash as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank a good whip lash, his knave a knit through bloody flooder field to dash. Oh, how unfit! But mark the rustic, Haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread, clamping his wally knave a blade, he'll make it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sned like taps of thistle. Ye powers will make mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking ware that joups and luggies, but if ye wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis. Now if you're not already standing up, you should be. Please stand up, charge your glass, and join us in the toast to the haggis.
The haggis.
The haggis. Hi there, still local. We're down here at what's left of Carron Ironworks, and once we're finished with the recitation, which is a very short one, we'll put some photographs together and we'll show you, we'll play some music to give you a better idea of perhaps the size and scale of the place. Burns came here in 1787, and you'll hear that year throughout, but that's when he came to Falkirk in Stirlingshire. Carron Company had already been in existence for about 30 years before that, and was very much the hub of the whole industrial revolution in Scotland. Transformed the whole central belt into what it was actually till about 30 years ago, and it was a tourist attraction. People came here to see the ironworks, the huge furnaces and the fires, and the very short poem itself will actually take a little bit of translation. So Burns came here to see it. Unfortunately, he trotted up on a Sunday and it was shut and he didn't get in. So, as he used to do, the ironworks wasn't open, but the pub up the road was. So he went back up to the Carron Bridge Inn, which is just about 200 metres up the road there, and used his diamond pen to write this verse on a fireplace, and I'll translate as soon as we're finished. We camna here to view your works in hopes to be mair wise, but only lest we gang to hell, it may be nae surprise. But when we tirled at your door, your porter dochna bear us. Say me, when we to hell's yet come, your billy Satan sare us. There's a few tongue twisters in that one. What he means is, we didn't come here to view your works to improve our IQ, but only in case we go to hell with the fiery furnaces. It's no any surprise after having seen this place. A wee bit more on that. What you have to remember at that time was the Church of Scotland was pretty much telling everybody they were going to hell. It was only the elect that were actually going up the way. So, quite a real fear really. So, but when we knocked at your door, the porter, the guy that was going to let them in, wouldn't let them in. And what he finishes off by saying, so when we arrive at hell, we hope that Satan treats us the same way and doesn't let us in either. Hi there, shouldn't really need an introduction as to where we are. We're below Stirling Castle here, and Burns was here in 1787. The verse that he wrote laments that the place has kind of fallen into ruin. Apparently he looked at the Royal Palace, which is the bit on the left hand side there, the right hand side, sorry, the kind of tall place. It didn't have a roof, and he had a go at the monarchs then as well, which was really quite naughty to do. I've played in Burns suppers all over the world, and for loads and loads of different organisations, sometimes completely at odds with each other. The Conservative Party, the Labour Party, the Nationalists, the Freemasons, this, that, the next thing, and they all say Burns thought the way we did. And he may well have expressed sentiments to their way of thinking at some point. One thing we can say, he wasn't a royalist, so he doesn't hold back here. Also perhaps worth mentioning that the royals he's talking about are the forebears of our current royals, so the boy wouldn't be in the mail with this stuff. Here Stuarts once in glory reigned, and laws for Scotland's weal ordained, but now unroofed their palace stands, their sceptre fallen to other hands, fallen indeed into the earth where grovelling reptiles take their birth. The injured Stuart line is gone, a race outlandish fills their throne, an idiot race to honour lost, who know them best, despise them most.
Now's the day and now's the hour, see the front of battle loud, see approach proud Edward's far, chains and slavery. What will be at returning? What can fill the Carron's grave? Blessed is as he has slain, let him turn
Edina, Scotia's darling seat, all hail thy palaces and towers, where once beneath a monarch's feet sat legislation's sovereign powers. From marking wildly scattered flowers, as on the banks of Ayr I strayed, and singing lone the lingering hours, I shelter in thy honoured shade. Here wealth still swells the golden tide, as busy trade his labours plies. There architecture's noble pride bids elegance and splendour rise. Here justice from her native skies high wields her balance and her rod. There learning with his eagle eyes seeks science in her coy abode. Thy sons, Edina, social, kind, with open arms the stranger hail, their views enlarged, their liberal mind above the narrow rural vale, attentive still to sorrow's wail, or modest merit's silent claim, and never may their sources fail, and never envy blot their name. Thy daughters bright thy walks adorn, gay as the gilded summer sky, sweet as the dewy milk-white thorn, dear as the raptured thrill of joy. Fair Burnet strikes the adoring eye, heaven's beauties on my fancy shine. I see the sire of love on high, and own his work indeed divine. There watching high the least alarms, thy rough rude fortress gleams afar, like some bold veteran grey in arms, and marked with many a seamy scar. The ponderous wall and massy bar, grim rising o'er the rugged rock, have oft withstood assailing war, and oft repelled the invader's shock. With awestruck thought and pitying tears, I view that noble stately dome, where Scotia's kings of other years, famed heroes, had their royal home. Alas, how changed the times to come, their royal name low in the dust, their hapless race wild wandering roam, though rigid law cries out, "'Twas just." Wild beats my heart to trace your steps, whose ancestors in days of yore, through hostile ranks and ruined gaps, old Scotia's bloody lion bore. E'en I, who sing in rustic lore, haply my sires have left their shed, and faced grim danger's loudest roar, bold following where your fathers led. Edina, Scotia's darling seat, all hail thy palaces and towers, where once beneath a monarch's feet sat legislation's sovereign powers. From marking wildly scattered flowers, as on the banks of Ayr I strayed, and singing lone the lingering hours, I shelter in thy honoured shade.
Firmly in Clackmannanshire here, across the Forth from Falkirk district, just over the Forth. And we're at Clackmannan Tower, which is more commonly known as Bruce's Tower. I can vouch for that because I used to live here when I was a kid. So Bruce's Tower, in Burns's time, occupied by Lady Kathryn Bruce, who was a direct descendant of King Robert the Bruce of the Scottish Wars of Independence fame, and she had in her possession a double-handled sword which belonged to the hero king himself. That sword's now in Broomhall Castle and held by another branch of the Bruce family. With that sword, in Bruce's Tower here, she knighted Robert Burns and said after she did so that she had more right to do so than many others, meaning the Hanoverian kings. I believe her. Anyway, we don't have a poem for you from here. We just brought you here because it's very, very, very important. Robert Burns was knighted here. Lady Kathryn Bruce's husband had fought on the Jacobite side during the Jacobite War. Why we sort of keep going on about the Jacobite War? Well, the Jacobite War was only 40 years before, and to put that into context, this year is 2022. 40 years before now was 1982 in the Falklands conflict. I can remember that as though it was yesterday. I wasn't there, but I was packed and ready to go, and all my pals were there. 40 years before 1942, both my grandfathers were sailing to North Africa to fight Rommel. So very, very recent history, if you like, when Burns was here. We haven't got a poem for you, or even a song. We might put some stuff to music and let you see some of the pictures. But from here we're going to move just slightly north to the banks of the Devon, and we'll give you a wee poem there. Welcome to Harveston Estate, and specifically the banks of the River Devon in Clackmannanshire. Confusingly, there are two River Devons in Clackmannanshire. The one that I knew as a kid that ran through the village was the Black Devon, and this is the one that Burns is going to be talking about in the poem, Fairest Maid on Devon's Bank. Smallest county in Scotland. Why has it got two rivers called Devon? It's got two rivers called Devon because the actual name is derived from the Gaelic avid, which means river. So he was here in October 1787 visiting Harveston Estate, where I'm led to believe he actually proposed to a young lady of the family. But he was knocked back, and whether he wrote this poem before or after, I'm thinking before, to maybe try and impress her. We don't really know. Again, it's not one I've learned, so we're going to read it from the book, hence the glasses. Fairest maid on Devon's banks, crystal Devon, winding Devon, wilt thou lay thy frown aside, and smile as thou wert wont to do? Full well thou know'st I love thee dear, couldst thou to malice lend an ear? O did not love explain forbear, nor use a faithful lover so? Fairest maid on Devon banks, crystal Devon, winding Devon, wilt thou lay thy frown aside, and smile as thou wert wont to do? Then come thou fairest o' the fair, those wonted smiles, oh let me share, and by thy beauteous self I swear, no love but thine my heart shall know. Fairest maid on Devon banks, crystal Devon, winding Devon, wilt thou lay thy frown aside, and smile as thou wert wont to do? Hi there, coming towards the end of the presentation, and we're on the shores of the Forth here, down at Dunmore. Kathryn's going to do a poem titled Out O'er the Forth, and we're not really sure exactly where that was set, but I don't think it can be too far from here. The Forth in 1787, which is when we think this one was written as well, it was slightly different. Commerce and industry all the way up the Forth. No bridges that way, Edinburgh that way, Carron that way, no bridges until Stirling, which is partly why Stirling was so important. There was also a naval battle here in 1745. There was a Jacobite battery there over at Alloa, and also in this side, and some Hanoverian UK government naval ships came up here and pretty much won the day, but it was kind of indecisive because they started running aground on the mud banks that are out here. The sentiments in the poem are held to be those of a Jacobite widow, or at least someone who's been separated from her husband. This is just a two-verse version, and we sat researching this one last night and we heard people singing it with about 6 verses, but nonetheless, here you go.
Out over the Forth I look to the north, but what is the north and its highlands to me? The south nor the east
gie ease to my breast, the far foreign land or the wide rolling sea. But I look to the west when I gae to rest, that happy my dreams and my slumbers may be. For far in the west lives he I loe best, the man that is dear to my baby and me.